It's time once again for the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we sit down with today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise as they share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life and the lives of others. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Are you ready to step into your greatness? Do what you need to do to ensure that the next chapter of your life, your next story, will be written your way. Well, hi, I'm Christy Ruffino, the host of the show and the creator of the Overcoming Mediocrity Project, where everyday women tap into the power of their stories to magnify their message and elevate their brand so they can enjoy a business and life of true significance. I'm happy that you're here because this show is for people like you who are on the edge of change. You're ready to rise up, overcome mediocrity, empower your thoughts, elevate your thinking, and transform your life. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by the Overcoming Mediocrity Project. Are you ready to share your story in a life-changing book with other success-driven women? Then, what if you could use that book to get speaking gigs, podcast interviews, and possibly a new client or two? Wouldn't that be great? Well, watch out, chicken soup. Here comes Overcoming Mediocrity. Our proven system can transform your struggle story into a powerful signature message and then as one chapter in an Amazon best-selling book. Our process is simple and economical, and it will bring a lot of eyeballs on you, your business, and your big message to the world. We welcome you to apply to join our project. Just visit us at overcomingmediocrity.org and click on the apply button at the top of the page. We'll see you soon. Well, hello, my friends. This is Christy Ruffino, and I just got done interviewing our next guest, and I am so excited for you to meet her. If you are wondering what the biggest issues entrepreneurs today are facing, well, she is going to be able to not only point them out, but she is going to be providing some amazing solutions. Our guest, Michele Mere, is a decisive, driven, and committed entrepreneur who helps successful business owners expand, duplicate, or sell their companies and make big profits using her business valuation and consulting skills. Michele's business expertise has been highlighted during so many of her speeches on platforms such as Harvard, NBC, CBS, Fox, entrepreneur.com, and Forbes.com. She is a Stevie Award-winning business consultant, best-selling author, and the founder of Decisive Minds. Michele is a serial entrepreneur who knows how to she knows how it feels to fail miserably at businesses. At one time, the bank called demanding that their $1.5 million debt needs to be paid right away. Gosh, I can't imagine being in those shoes. So she knows how it feels to sign the contract and then eventually sell her company for $9 million. So she didn't let that situation overwhelm her when the bank demanded their money. She put on her big girl pants and she plowed forward, and she was able to really turn things around in her business. So today, Michele is going to share some amazing information as well as give you all a special little treat. So without further ado, let's get to her interview. Well, hello, Michelle, and welcome. I am so excited to have you with us today. And more importantly, I am excited for our audience to get to know who Michelle is and to learn from you.
Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm so glad you invited me. Thank you.
Yes, we're going to have so much fun together.
Yes, I agree.
So we first met, gosh, I don't know, in a coaching program years and years and years ago. And you were in like this elite program, and I was just trying to catch up to where you were at. But then you actually came and spoke to our audience, the Dynamic Professional Women's Network, I believe in 2015.
Yeah, I was going to say 15 or 16, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I had a big conference we had, and we had so many great reviews and great feedback about your talk that I just wanted you to be one of our premier guests on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And then when you spoke, you shared your story, and you have an incredible story of your journey. So if you don't mind, can you share that with the audience today and let them know how you got to be the expert in this area?
Yeah. So, my life has been, is still, and probably will be till the day I die, about business, about entrepreneurship, about creating your own life and your own existence. I tell people that, I'm third generation entrepreneur. So I was born into a family who had kids to guarantee they had employees. I mean, we had a grocery store, a mobile home park. My dad started the trucking company when I was 7. We had a wrecker service. We had a laundromat. I mean, if we thought we could make a dime, we did it. And so I learned how to crawl in the grocery store. I was, negotiating pay when I was 6 years old to get paid for what I was doing in that store. I thought all kids did that. Seriously, I look back on my life and I'm like, I had the wildest life. But the school bus dropped me off at the grocery store afternoon because I went to work after school, right? So, and it's funny, I thought everybody did that, but found out later they didn't. And I think that really is what began my love and of business and entrepreneurs. And so, learning at the knees of my father and my grandfather and watching them negotiate and sell and treat people the way people should be treated in a business, right? And the respect in the community that they had because of the way they did business. And so it was quite like, it just made this huge impression on me. And then in 2007, so my grandfather started everything in so my dad was born in 42. So my grandfather started everything in 1944. My father was 2 years old when my grandfather went into business. And so in 2007, we had the opportunity to sell our trucking company and our grocery store that year. And we retired my entire family. Everyone retired when we sold those 2 companies. And so then I thought, wow, I'll just kind of live the life of Riley. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I forgot that I had 2 kids in high school and a husband with a business. And so, all of a sudden I find myself on the couch every day with like, who is Michelle at this point? I don't have employees. I don't have a business to run. What am I going to do? And I did a couple of things. I started a company flipping houses. That was a lot of fun. And then the credit stuff happened in 2009 and that fell apart. And then, I'm doing as a lot of people do in 2000, probably late 2009, I was surfing the internet. I don't know how I ended up on this site. And I end up on this thing that's talking about, how to build businesses in the online world and all this kind of stuff. And I go to a marketing seminar in California. And like, I watched this guy stand on stage and I can finish his sentences, it's just about building business. It's just one little tweak. I had never done it online. I had no clue what to do there. And so before those 3 days were over, I hired him to help me, to show me what to do. I started Decisive Minds in January of 2010. And I really just thought I was going to build this online business. I was never going to speak. I wasn't going to network. I wasn't going to leave my house because I'm an extreme introvert, for those of you who might not know that. And what I found out at the end of 2010 was that doesn't necessarily work. Because I had spent a bunch of money and made none. Like, I think I like sold $12,000 in that whole year. remember, I signed a contract for $9 million 3 years prior to that to sell a company. And here I am making, selling like $12,000 in a whole 12 months
Oh,
in this
wow.
business. It was sobering. One of the things we do, Christy, as a family is every January we get together and we analyze all of our businesses, like
Wow.
the ones we own together, the ones we own individual. And in January 2011, I had to sit at my father's table, this man, this entrepreneur who helped me to understand who I am, and tell him that I didn't quite make any money with all this time I spent in this business. And I'll never forget this. He said, I don't think that's a viable company. I think you should stop doing that. We need to look for something else for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. So here's the other side of me is don't tell me I can't do something. So
I'm not going to give up.
I'm
just going to try harder.
Yes. So, I turned on a dime, and within the next 18 months, I was doing six figures, and I hit,
Wow.
$500,000 for 4 years in. And that was the thing that kind of lit my fire. And,
Wow.
Later we can talk about the little things I did to make those shifts. What was it that I did different? Because that's there's a lot of learning experience in that. So we will talk about that on the call. But yeah, and so here I am, almost 11 years later, and sitting in, a COVID situation, a COVID world, we all know it, that we've been through in 2020. Also, you guys may not know, I live in Lake Charles, so we took 2 direct hurricane hits this year. I also had major surgery 3 days prior to the first hurricane, so I rode that hurricane out in the hospital. And so my life has been quite tumultuous in 2020, to say the least. It's here, we're 3 months past the first hurricane, and Lake Charles, we're probably we're an easy year away from normalcy. And Christy, everything in Decisive Minds, the greatest thing is that I built it in a way that it is flexible, it is shiftable, it's virtual. There was a lot of virtual aspect to it already, but now I'm sitting here looking at, okay, there's opportunity, because one of the things I want to talk about on this call too is what is the opportunity in what looks like a disaster right now. And I'm super excited about some things I'm going to be launching in, come January and February. So I see all this opportunity right now. So that's exciting, very exciting. So
yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. You are definitely have the entrepreneurial spirit. That is part of your DNA. And you took something that was like a very expensive hobby initially, and you turned it into a profitable business, and then going beyond that and helping other people do the same thing. And that's what I love about this whole coaching world. And especially the focus that you have is you help people that are struggling to follow their passion, but do it in a way that actually allows them to make money. Because without money, we can't keep doing it. We don't all have like your father to come sit with us every January and breathe down our, look at us and give us that look, but we still know that we have to make money at what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's really why I started this business. I started Decisive Minds because of everything I have been through in my life. And, we had the failures. I'll never forget the day the bank called and said, hey, we want our $1.5 million back. I mean, that will wrench your gut, I can tell you. And so I've been through the trenches in all the businesses that we've had, and including Decisive Minds, and come out the other side on many of them and sold them. And a couple of them we closed because it was supposed to be closed. Right. So yeah, I've done it all when it comes to business. So really I bring a unique perspective to the business consulting world because of my experience in the past. So yeah. Love it.
Wow. Yes. What a year that you've had. That's for sure. We were talking about that briefly before we hit the record button, and it's, but that's what we do in life, right? We take what we have and we learn from it, we grow from it, and just move on. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see what you have put together for us today, as well as what you're launching in January. So if you don't mind, can you hang on a moment and we will get right back to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
I know. You hear us asking you to subscribe, rate, and review. But what does that really mean? Is it really that important? Well, if other podcast hosts are anything like me, they've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their show. And personally, I get really discouraged when I have something great to share and no one is listening. Beyond algorithms, ratings and reviews are critical for a show's sustainability. It goes way beyond fanning the flames of our egos, or by getting a little "that a girl" pat on the back. Reviews create social proof and prove that our show has an engaged and loyal following. So, if you like our show, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review. And while you're at it, pick up one of our Overcoming Mediocrity books on Amazon. You'll be glad that you did. All right, well, let's get to it. I know you have some great kind of pieces of wisdom, what I call ninja tips that you want to share with our audience today. Most importantly, I know you can see things changing for the year to come, or the next year to come in 2021. I know you kind of shared a little bit about what you think that's going to look like. Would you go ahead and share with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a magazine reach out to me not too long ago and asked me that exact question. It's like, what do you see is going to be different in the world in 2021 for entrepreneurs? And first, I want to say, I really hope that people take the time to look for the opportunity and don't just fall back into old habits when all this goes back. Okay. You have a real opportunity to change things. What I see different in 2021 is what we're experiencing right now, which is it's going to be, all businesses will be way more virtual. I think that doesn't matter what kind of business you're running right now, you are realizing maybe I don't need to have everyone in one office. Maybe I can have a more virtual team, or let my employees work from home. My son designs trusses for buildings. He works remotely doing that now, right? Whereas for the years prior to that, they always needed him in the office. It doesn't matter what we're doing. My business, Decisive Minds, and as a consulting business, from day one, I set it up as a virtual company because almost none of my clients are in the same town as me. So we did all of our consulting most of our consulting through Zoom activities. And then a couple of times a year, we'd come together in person. I think that's going to just kind of become the new norm, the new mainstream opportunity. The second thing is that, there's a lot of business owners who do things because that's the way they've always been done. I love the story, if you've ever heard it, of the woman. Her daughter says, "Mom, why do you cut the ends off of the roast when you cook it?"
Yes.
And she's like, "I don't know, because my mother did." She goes to her grandmother, "Grandma, why do you cut the ends off of the roast when you cook it?" And she says, "Because my pan was short."
Yeah. I just read that yesterday, actually, in one of.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the fact of the matter is, that's 3 generations down, and they're cutting off the ends of the roast, and they don't know why.
They don't know why, but they just keep doing it because that's how they were taught.
How it's always been.
Yeah.
Challenge the status quo. You don't need to do it just because it's always been that way. So I think, for you and I, I've spent the last 10, 11 years now building something that uses technology. If you guys go to decisiveminds.com, I have almost 1,000 blog posts on my blog.
Yeah.
Content. We've been preaching it for years. All of a sudden, people are seeing it. Now, I will say this, guys, it is so easy to go back to the norm. Please, please, please don't. Find what's different for you and do it. When the pandemic seriously got really, really started hitting. And one of my clients from previous years, he owns a TV station in Houston. And I had been talking to him about, you've got to build an online community. You've got to reach out you've got to do, this, yes, for years. Yes. I get a text from him. It's probably April. And he says, Michelle, gosh, why didn't I listen?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because now what am I going to do? How am I going to, I can't send my salespeople out to sell more advertising. I can't, right? And if he had built the community and built the infrastructure and all, we have opportunity, people, right now. Don't miss out on that. So I think that what we see in 2021 moving forward in all aspects, whether you are target or you are, it doesn't matter who you're, it's going to be a more virtual world.
Yeah.
And so we can really, for those of you who've been on the bandwagon like Christy and I have for a long time, you're already set up for it, hopefully.
Yeah.
And for those of you who need to start to make those changes, start to make the embrace and move forward in that, and don't just go back to, I have to do everything the way I used to do it. So,
yeah. Well, and I think the timing is perfect because I've been using Zoom for a couple of years, but before then, say 3 years ago, we didn't have the technology to do the things we're doing now. So if this whole situation would have happened, let's say 5 years ago, we weren't prepared. The world wasn't prepared to be able to connect like this. And we've made so many advances in this whole just using Zoom and all the capabilities. I remember using, I think, GoToMeeting for the longest time, and it was difficult. And then Skype, remember Skype? We were all using Skype, and we would have dropped off 5 times if we were using Skype for this interview today. So, even though the situation is horrible in so many ways, I believe that the timing is kind of a divine, it's happening right now for a reason. And it's pushing us, stretching us to do things differently. And if we can follow your advice and not go back to the way things were, and then keep being progressive. I love challenge the status quo. That is so great.
Right.
But yeah, so that's going to keep us moving forward. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
I think it's awesome.
Yay.
Big opportunities.
Yeah. All right. So then also, I know you had mentioned that you also shifted a little bit. You were already moving in this direction, but even though you're a master content creator. I love your blog posts. I love everything you produce. If I need to know something, I go to you and do a search, and I find the answers on your website. So that's amazing. But you still had to make some shifts, you mentioned. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about the shifts, and then I want you to ask me again about content creation, because I'm going to give you I'll just give you all the insider info on it. But yeah, so here's what the opportunity was for me. So I built, like I said, I had to sit in front of my dad. And so I had to make some changes, and I like seriously went after, getting seen and getting known and getting heard, putting out a lot of content, like sucking it up and going to networking events and doing all those kind of things that I absolutely did not want to do. I'll tell you a super fast, easy, quick story.
I didn't know you were an introvert. I would have never guessed that.
So I call myself a situational extrovert.
Okay.
So I can turn on my extrovert for this.
Yeah.
I can go stand on your stage. But when you see me in the room, I'm not going to speak to you. I'm going to be sitting in my chair. Please come talk to me. I will talk to you if you come to me, but I will never walk up to you. Right. I'm go hide in my room. That's who I am. And so, at the end of 2010, I get a phone call one day. This is right about the time I'm getting ready to have to go see my dad, right? I get a phone call from a woman in Houston. She says, Michelle, you don't know me, but I've been watching you on social media. And I am the director for the eWomen in Houston. I would like for you to come speak at our luncheon. I just said yes. I didn't give myself time to think, because I said no. I said yes. And so she's like, great, can you come next month? Okay. And I want you to come talk about your book. And so that first year, I wrote a book called 6 Weeks to, it was bad. Okay, it was bad, but I wrote a book.
But it was done, right? Yeah.
I wrote the book. It was awful. And so I didn't want to go talk about it. I said, did you hear about my second book that's getting ready to come out? She goes, no, what is it? I said, It's 5 steps to massive online visibility. And it's all about social media and all that kind of. She's like, oh, that would be great. Come talk about that. And I hung up the phone and thought, okay, I got to write that book because I made it up right there on the spot.
Yay, I love that.
So I have 2 weeks. I'm speaking in 2 weeks. So I wrote that book over the weekend. I couldn't get it printed in time. I turned it into an ebook, right? Yeah. And I walked into that event and terrified, gave a 15-minute talk, my first ever, like really, talk in this world. And 20 women handed me a check for $100 a piece. I walked out with $2,000 in my pocket. Woo. And from a little course that I sold, and I got the ebook for free with the course. And, and then I called my coach and said, okay, I can do this. How do I make this bigger? At that moment, that was my first real win. Right. Yeah. And so then I came out and I really just, I got it that I had to go do those pieces. I had to be seen. For that first year, I made a lot of videos. Not a single one of them has my face on it.
Oh, yeah.
PowerPoint videos. Okay. So I knew at that point I had to shift that. People had to be able to engage with me. They needed to see me. So relationship, there's voice. They hear you. That's one level of relationship. They see you. That's another level of relationship. They meet you in person. That's a different level of relationship, right? So I understood that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as the introvert, so for all my introvert friends out there, I do not travel without one of the extroverts at my side. So, I'll take my really good extrovert friends with me on these speaking engagements and things. I know that when they're in that room, they're going to bring everyone to me because they want everyone to meet me, so. Yeah, all I did really was I got real, I understood I had to put myself out there. And so that was the first part of that. I know I need to watch the clock. And the shift for me has been that I built a really big business. I had coaches under me. I had all kinds of, Decisive Minds got huge. And then I went, oh, wait, this isn't really what I want. All of a sudden I woke up one day and went, oh, I don't want to do all of this. Right. And so 2019 was a really rough year health-wise for me, and things started to kind of slow down, and so and then who knew 2020 would look like it does, right? But here's the what I realized, what dawned on me a couple of months ago was this is the opportunity for me to shift into something that's totally, the other thing I love, that I have a degree in accounting. I love the numbers. The reason I can help you build your business is because I understand all of that. My dad told me when I was really little, he's like, look, you don't have to become an accountant, but you should go get an accounting degree because when you understand the numbers, you can build any business you want. And so, so that's one of the things I do with all of my clients is make them pay attention to their numbers. And so I realized, hey, I should really be also speaking on those topics and building that, I'm more than likely what you will see from me in 2021 is a virtual bookkeeping service tied in to a training type of scenario around this whole conversation of, if you're failing and we look at the numbers, what can we do different? What can we see different? Where is the issue coming from? Because it actually can be multiple things. So,
and you're coming at it from not just a money perspective, but what works.
Correct.
And if I would have had somebody like that in the first 5 years of my business, I wouldn't have struggled so much. I was making 6 figures, but I was spending so much in my business on areas that didn't bring me back more money. That's I kept moving forward thinking, well, I'm doing the right thing. Well, I'm helping people, but I wasn't helping myself to become profitable. And it got me in a huge, huge pickle.
Yes.
So that is key. Yeah. Money is, and I think
be bottom line focused as much as we are top line focused. People talk about how much revenue they're turning. I don't want to know that. I want to know, are you paying your bills and are you keeping, what are you keeping at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're paying yourself, are you for like, And entrepreneurs, we put us on the bottom, and that's not good because that's not going to keep us fueled.
Yeah. There were times when I was doing $500,000-$600,000 a year. I was supporting a lot of people's families.
Yeah.
A lot of people I was paying, right. And barely paying myself. I mean, that was craziness.
It is.
Yeah, it had to all be shifted, and I've seen it it's not just a coaching thing. I've seen it way back there were years in the trucking company. There were years in the
a woman
grocery
thing. Do you think it's a woman thing though?
I think that it doesn't help us.
Yeah.
That we as women have a tendency to put ourselves, put everyone else first.
Yeah.
And I've seen men do it. So
Okay.
it's not only a woman thing. I also think it's, we don't make it easier.
Yeah.
But we don't have to go be a wolf to make money. We don't. That's the thing, right? We just have to be smarter at looking at every year, at the end of the year, with the whole conversations that we do in January. Now my dad's been gone for 5 years, and my brother and I and my mother, we still do this. And it's to look at, for me, and I have all my clients do this, by the way, at the end of the year, I look at, okay, where did all the revenues come from? Which of those revenues generated, what percentage? And then what expense was attached to those? So what was profitable, what was not? And where are my mistakes? What did I do this year that I should not have done? Maybe I bought programs I shouldn't have bought. Maybe I joined a program, coaching program or something. I'm all about coaching and getting education, but we need to stop and be able to say, okay, I made that mistake. Forgive myself for doing it, but this is how I cannot do it the next time. Who am I? Do I need to have someone that I'm accountable for when I'm going to spend money? Do I need to be able to answer these 3 questions? And if they're yeses, then I get to do it, right? Okay. We need to learn who we are and how we do those things, and how do we change that in the next year. If we learn and move forward and we don't do it again, hey, we start making money.
Right. So, oh my gosh, this has been so good. But do you mind if we shift the conversation to content? I know I'm kind of throwing this out there and you mentioned it, but you are a master at content creation. And I would love for you to be able to kind of share some tips on that, because I feel like I am all over the board with that.
Okay.
I don't do it consistently. I don't have like a focus. I don't know what my problem is, but that is, and I keep thinking one of these days I'm going to get to that, but yeah, I'm sure I'm not alone.
I have got so many things I can tell you on this. I'm going to pick a couple.
Okay.
The first one is, so consistency is, you just hit the nail on the head. Totally. Consistency is the key to success in content marketing and creating content, right? Consistency. If you say, I'm going to put out a blog 3 times a week, then you do that every week for a long time, guess what you do? You end up with 1,000 blog posts on your site, like me, right? And I also don't believe in constant creation. So I'm looking at, when I create something, how can I use it 5 times? So I'm going to use this podcast as an example, Christy.
Yeah.
So you and I, we're getting great content to them. We're motivating and educating. Mm-hmm. You take this video. I know you're using this video to launch the podcast, right? Yeah. You take this video and you share it on social media. So it becomes a YouTube video. And maybe you have a Vimeo account. You put it there. You put it on Facebook. You put it on LinkedIn. Okay. Yeah. So now we've shared content on 4 more places from this one video. You take this video, and maybe 3 or 4 months down the road, after you've utilized it in the marketing strategy you want to use it in, put it in a blog post on your website. There's great nuggets of content here. Absolutely. You have this video transcribed. And so then you can pull out the little nuggets and maybe they become tweets. You can take that transcript and make it a written blog post or an article in someone's virtual magazine. Right? Do you see how many things you can do with this 30 minutes of your life you're going to spend?
Absolutely.
Right?
Multi-purpose.
So, that's right. I am all about create once and find at least 5 ways to use it. Minimum 5 ways to use it. My team's like, Michelle wants it used in 5 ways. I mean, they know, okay, right. Is that I don't want to create. The second thing I want to say is, if you want to put out a lot of great content, I learned, I understood day one that I did not have to be the creator of the content to get value from the content. So number one, you do what you're doing. You partner with others. You bring in people who are going to share great content with your community. That's great. This is a win for you, for me, because I'm seen as the expert, and for your audience because they're learning. It's a win-win-win all the way around.
Absolutely.
Number one. Number two, I don't necessarily write my own stuff. I use PLR, which is private label rights content. So I have writers who write things that I purchase from them and can put my name on. I might modify them slightly. I use a lot of PLR.
Okay.
Out of those 1,000 blog posts personally written, maybe 50, maybe 50. Okay. And what I do is when I hire someone to write things for me, and it's not expensive, guys, but when I hire someone to do that, then and they give it to me, then I go through it and I go, okay, I agree with this.
Right. You make it yours.
Yeah, I would change this one thing right here, and I'm gonna, like I barely change anything, but I make sure that I agree with it. I'm not just going to post anything on my stuff.
Right. And then when you get a writer that gets to know you and you get to know them, it becomes easier.
Yes. And so, that's for years and years and years, I would get 10 blog posts a month for $200. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Oh, yes.
Okay? And so you can find those services out there that are writing content and selling it, and you get to choose, take it as your own. Listen, it's all good. It's more important that I was being consistent and putting out great content.
And you're still helping people, right?
Until I tell them that it's not really me writing it, no one knows, because it's definitely in my voice. Mm-hmm. It's visual on my website. It's got a picture that I chose to go with it. So it's got the feel of Michele.
Right.
So consistent, and you don't need to create it all.
Love that.
And number three is use it over and over and over and over.
That's why it's so important to make sure it's evergreen.
Yes.
And I know that's a mistake that I made initially, is I do this spent hours writing this big blog post, but it was about a specific product on a specific date that was being launched. And so once I did that, it was like I hit a wall.
Yes.
And that's not the right way to kind of leverage our time and our knowledge, because there was great information in there.
Yeah.
But the way I put it together, I couldn't use it again.
And we all make that mistake. I just want you to know, because back when the shutdown first started, I spent a couple of months every day. I would go and pull a couple of blog posts that were written back in like 2010, 11, 12, 13, and update them to current. And so, man, I found so many of them that were like, join me on this webinar in 2012. Okay. So I went in, I pulled all that out. The rest of the blog post was great content. So I just kind of modified it and gave it an evergreen feel. Yeah. And it's okay to go back and update those things and fresh content, because then it went out again like it was brand new on my blog. Right.
Wow.
So
yes. Great. Yeah. All right. So those were 3 great tips. You talked to us about shifting, and there's so much great information you shared with our audience today. Thank you so much, Michele. But I know we're not done. I know you have a free gift that you want to give to anybody that listens and wants it. So tell us about what that is. I'm excited to hear. I
do. I have a little course called 28 Days to Grow Your List and Your Income. And because listen, guys, don't let anyone tell you that email is dead. No, absolutely not. I've been fighting that for 10 years. People have been telling me that for 10 years. And the fact of the matter is, people still open my emails.
Yep.
I had a client call me 2 years ago and she said, Michele, I haven't opened one of your emails in 5 years, but I get them all the time. Right. And when I needed a coach, I knew to call you.
Yep, you're there.
It works. That's all. That's how it works. So I put together.
That's why consistency is key, because now she knows, all right, I'm not ready for Michele, but when I am ready, she's there for me.
Yes. So I put together this little, it's 12 videos. Each of the videos is on a different topic. How do you use your blog to build your list? How do you, I teach something called client mapping, which is something we kind of implied towards a while ago. Yeah. That video's in there. Effective newsletters is in there. What do you do with all the business cards you gather whenever we get to go to networking events again? That's in there. How to use
I need
that
to learn what to do with
build.
that.
Right? So I have a video on my 30-minute social media strategy. 30 minutes a day, I'm telling you, will change your social
Oh
media
my gosh.
life and build your community. Your community is your list, your email list, and all of your social media, right? So all of this is one conversation for me. So yeah, there's lots of great videos in there. You guys opt in, you get immediate access to all 12 of them.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I know I am going to really appreciate that. And I'm sure our audience will too. So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that this is over because I would really love to continue. But thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to having you back for an encore appearance one of these days.
You're going to do it, Christy, one of these days. Thank you so much.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they learn the art of mastering their story. Because mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back, or they can become the fuel that ignites a positive change in our life and the lives of others. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.